Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Conversations from Stritch. Today is March 7th. I'm Dr. David Livingston, president of Lewis University, and I'm joined by Dr. Christopher Sint, our provost. It's been a busy week as we lead into spring break that starts this weekend. We had the spring concert on Monday this week, showcasing a wide range of musical artists from vocals to guitar solos to saxophone trio and many other things. If you missed the concert on Monday, you can check it out at luartsandideas.org. We also had an interfaith forum on Tuesday. It was a really great event. I was able to be there kind of midway through it and stay till the end. We had speakers from different faith traditions, some work in terms of our own community and people from the outside community coming together and talking about how we can work through ideas on interfaith interfaith challenges. We had a great community hour yesterday, continuing on the theme of kind of faith traditions and how to struggle through things. Both Chris and I attended a talk on the intersection of white supremacy and anti-Semitism. I got to say, it was a little depressing, and I'm reading a book on a similar topic, and it's also depressing. But I think really important to learn about. We had a great speaker in that was able to talk about it, and I do want to just thank Dr. Elizabeth Sartori for all the work that she's done to kind of working with other colleagues, of course, but to help to create some of these events that have helped us to understand better faith traditions around the globe. I do want to say that I was in Rome last weekend, and I was able to visit with some of our students that are in Rome. Some of them, and I like to share this, this picture is about half of our students, a little less than half of our students that are over in the Luce program, and we've had guests on this program before about this. The rest of them, one was in Malta, one was in Barcelona, one was visiting Vienna. So it was great to have those students there and hear a little bit about their experience. Really grateful to our faculty over there. Ellen Thursby that's been on here, Scott, Joanne, as well as people back here, Chris and Kurt and all the others that do such a great job. I did want to mention, I sent a letter out to the community yesterday informing people that our CFO, Teresa Krejci, is going to be retiring, not until September, which I'm really glad. She's in retirement mode, but she has, she wants to give us a very long runway, so 6 months for us to kind of figure things out. And as a part of this, we've been working on, because of the growing complexity organization, we're moving to a COO, Chief Operating Officer, and CFO, Chief Financial Officer model. So we are promoting, and I'm really excited. I announced yesterday in a letter that Melissa Carlson is going to be the interim CFO for the organization. Teresa is going to be the Chief Operating Officer. But just wish, it's not happening for a while, but excited for Teresa. Really loss for Lewis. The other thing that happened this week, and then I want to get into some things that we're looking forward to that are coming forward, but we had our first cohort for the Institute for Workforce Education at Lewis. This is a part of St. Augustine College that is now a part of Lewis University, and they do grants on pre-apprenticeship. So, men and women who are looking to join into the trades. This one is specifically related to the construction industry, but they're now the kind of serving the Joliet region. We got a grant to serve that group of people to be able to come to Lewis. So they're going to be on the Romeoville campus. They were here for a meet and greet. Chris and I both were able to be there, and it was just there was an energy in the room. It was exciting to hear about it, and it's a group of students that we have not been able to serve on our campus, but now with our work with Institute for Workforce Education, I'm really excited about being able to work with them. Chris and I are going to the Hasia dinner. This is a dinner tonight. I think I heard there'll be about 2,000 people there, but this is connected in many ways to what I just talked about with IWE. It's the Hispanic Construction Workers Association for the whole of kind of Metro Chicago. So, you know, obviously, I want to say tens of thousands. There might even be 100,000 Hispanic workers in the construction industry in Chicago because it's a massive industry. And they do their kind of awards dinner tonight. So that'll be exciting. And then I also want to, just before I pass it off to Chris for some other exciting news, Ramadan does begin on Sunday evening. There will be prayer space available in the big red room, 8 to 6, starting Monday. So as people during Ramadan, this time of kind of recommitment to the faith, and as I think many people know, one of the indicators of that recommitment is a fasting from sunup to sundown. And so, and then, you know, pushing people into that discipline of prayer. So we're making available space over in the big red room. So Chris, I know we got a lot of other things going on.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see everyone and be with everyone. Can I ask you a question? Sure. About what, I mean, you announced many wonderful things and so much going on campus that I really enjoyed being a part of. That IWE event in particular. I mean, all of it was inspiring, but that was really wonderful and beautiful to see people from the Joliet community, Joliet region, the region that we're in here, you know, coming here to return to improve their lives in terms of gaining these new skills. And we talked about continuing education about 2 weeks ago, no, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, a month ago. And that it just kind of fits right into that theme of just seeing, like, literally seeing people's lives kind of transforming, you know, as we're there with them. But I wanted to ask, people may wonder, like, why you go to Rome. It's not just to visit the Luce students.
No, it wasn't just to visit the students. I was in Rome this time. The executive director of IALU, which is the International Association of Lasallian Universities that represents the 64 universities around the globe, and then Brother Andres Govella, who's the kind of what I would call the chair of the board, but he's called the president of IALU, and so the executive director actually does the work, and then Brother Andres and myself, I'm vice chair of that committee, or vice president of IALU. So we were meeting with Brother Armin and Brother Carlos Gomez, who are the Vicar General and Superior General, so the two lead brothers that set kind of the strategy globally. And we were just working through, you know, some issues for the higher ed segment. We've talked multiple times on the show, and I think it's good to remind people, you know, there are kind of, I'd say, 3 segments to, maybe 4 segments to the ministry. So the higher ed, the high school ministry, and then the K through 8 ministry. And then this kind of broader mission-related stuff. So there is a foundation that does, you know, kind of the kind of work we do sometimes, where our students are out in the community doing either service or community-engaged learning. There's a whole aspect of the brothers that do that. So we had a meeting around where is higher ed, where is it going, what does the leadership want from the 64 universities. You and I were involved in the Jesu Magister. Lewis is one of, I think, 8 schools around the globe that is working on that, and that was one of the things that was raised, as well as volunteerism. I will say, you know, you and I haven't even talked about this, but one of their big pushes is going to be around how do the universities help in terms of volunteer work into the communities that surround, and even, I know one of the grants that you're going to be talking about here in a second is actually related to that. You know, how do universities dig deeply into their communities to not just meet the people on the periphery who need education, but meet their needs in other ways. So that's a push that we heard about this weekend. So yeah, thanks for asking.
Sure. Sounds really interesting and important, and I look forward to talking about it more. I might also mention now, because we're in a little transition, that we're going to talk later about the athletics schedule, but our women's basketball team is playing right now in the first round of the GLVC tournament. So I hope our guest is patient with us. It looks like 17-9 that we are winning, that we may cut into it a couple times throughout the show. So there it is. We can watch a little bit. right now as we compete in that GOVC tournament. And we're really proud of our both basketball teams that are competing this weekend in the tournament. We announced, and I also really appreciate your words about Teresa Crecci and about our transition around the CFO position. Really looking forward to working with Melissa Carlson. We also announced this week that we have concluded 3 searches for new university leaders. First, the Vice President for Diversity, Dr. Shireen Roshan-Ravan. Shireen Roshan-Ravan is currently serving as the Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at Northeastern University. Her passion for fostering a welcoming and inclusive environment where everyone thrives aligns seamlessly with our values here at Lewis. She is the co-editor of several books and special journal articles on the practice of deep coalition building. She earned her doctorate from the State University of New York at Binghamton in philosophy, interpretation, and culture. And her publications include the books Asian American Feminisms and Women of Color Politics, Speaking Face to Face, The Visionary Philosophy of Maria Lugonos, and #We Too, a Reader. So she'll begin on June 21st, and so we'll probably welcome her to the community over the summer, but probably on the show maybe next fall at the beginning. Our Vice President for Technology, Michael Rading, was announced as well. He is currently serving as Chief Information Officer of Baltimore City Community College. He is an experienced leader in IT governance, management, risk, information system controls, information security, and data privacy. Before joining Baltimore Community College, he was the CIO of the Baltimore City Public Schools, where he led its 80,000 students and 10,000 staff in a digital transformation that enabled remote learning and remote work during the pandemic. That is kind of almost incomprehensible to me, being responsible Chief Technology Officer of an extremely large and complicated public school district. We look forward to his leadership in the advancement of our information technology infrastructure and services to ensure reliable, secure, and innovative technology that empowers our learning, research, and administrative processes. So Mr. Rading begins on April 22nd. And then finally, we announced this week also that John Ashalou has been hired as our Assistant Vice President for Athletics. He comes to Lewis from Point Park University in Pittsburgh, where he served as Director of Athletics for 6 years. Under his leadership, the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics School, that's NAIA, had one of the most successful years in 2022-2023 as the university's teams won 7 conference championships and 10 teams placed either first or second in the River States Conference. So during John's tenure at Point Park, the athletic program won 6 national championships and 18 conference championships. Also, Point Park won the River States Conference All Sports Commissioners Cup for the last 3 consecutive years. Those are all really impressive numbers. In addition to leading the school to competitive success, he fostered a culture of academic excellence among student athletes and secured significant fundraising for athletic programs. Last year, the average GPA for student athletes was 3.27, and they had 15 of their 18 teams finish with 3.0 or higher. So we're going in reverse order of beginning. So John starts on April 2nd, just a few weeks away. So we really look forward to welcoming him into our community. In other news, the Illinois Principal Association recently honored the collaboration of Patrick McGinnis, Assistant Principal of Brooks Middle School in Bolingbrook, and Lewis University Schools Consortium with the Three Rivers Region Reaching Out and Building Bridges Award. That award recognizes collaboration among schools and communities within Kendall, Will, Kankakee, and Grundy counties. The regional award also qualifies the same partnership for a possible state award called the Horace Mann IPA Reaching Out and Building Bridges Award. The state award recognizes a principal or assistant principal and an agency, association, or community member displaying an outstanding effort in creating partnerships between schools, principals, associations, and organizations. So an award ceremony was held on February 12th at the Valley View Board of Education meeting So Lewis University Community Schools Consortium is a collaborative project with Lewis, Valley View, and Fairmont School District, along with numerous other local community partners. And it is a result of a $2.5 million grant that Lewis received from the U.S. Department of Education for the project. And we thank Dr. Emily Shaman and Laura Wilmarth-Tyna, who are the co-directors of that effort, for their amazing work in the first couple years of that grant project. I wanted to mention that Lewis is participating in the Recycle Mania competition, which is an annual competition with universities across the country to see who can reuse, recycle, and reduce the most. It's going on from February 5th to March 23rd. And it's also an internal competition between residence halls and floors to see who can recycle the most. And I meant to look it up before now, but I forgot to see who was winning. There's a weekly update of which floor is, and we get in our news feed about which floor is winning the contest. And I'm blanking on the current leader, but it goes until March 23rd. A reminder that in celebration of the 100th exhibit of the Brent and Jean Wadsworth Family Gallery, artwork by Lewis University alumni is currently on display. The exhibit is free and available to the public and open from 9 to 9 through March 22nd. The Alumni Art and Design Invitational features 26 artists and over 60 works of art, including paintings, drawings, photography, sculpture, digital work, and mixed media. And the show will conclude with a College of Humanities, Fine Arts, and Communications fundraiser party called COFAC Kickback, also on March 22nd. And you can contact Natalie Swain for more information about both things. And then finally, another reminder of the third annual Bernard Rapp Lecture on Faith and Science will take place April 8th at 3:30 in AS 158A, and will feature Dr. Christiana Zenner, whose presentation is called Fresh Waters, Science, Values, and the Role of Theology. Dr. Zenner is an associate professor of theology, science, and ethics at Fordham. So that's a lot, and then we do have spring break coming up. So our events are a little less than normal. It's mellowing a little bit.
And most of the events that I have to talk about are happening really today or tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So there's a list of events that we're seeing. So Human Rights Watch. Today, the Weisenthal Colloquium which is, we're having a scientist coming in from the Shed Aquarium to talk about corals in that colloquium that is an ongoing series. Phi Iota Alpha, Lambda Theta Alpha, and the Trace Vitas chamber group, as well as Phi Omega, are all meeting the next couple days. So before you leave campus, make sure, if you're in one of those groups, attend the meeting. If you're interested in those groups, attend the meeting. And then over the weekend, the men's lacrosse will be hosting Colorado Mesa. I want to say out loud, I was so frustrated. Next weekend, we're going to visit some friends, and the men's lacrosse thing reminded me that last night I saw that men's lacrosse is hosting Mercyhurst here on campus next weekend, and I'm going to be at Mercyhurst next weekend with some of my friends. I used to work there for 17 years. So I'm really frustrated because I was really excited when I know the coach there, Chris. So anyway, I was really excited to be able to watch them play each other, and now I'm going to be in Erie while they're here.
Well, for a small fee, you can watch it
right,
online
that's
with
true.
your friends. For
a small fee, I could watch it. Much of what happens on spring break is many of our teams travel, so a bit about athletic travel. As we already mentioned and saw on the split screen a little while ago, men's and women's are playing in the GLVC tournament this weekend. So hopefully they'll all be playing on Sunday. So they play today, Saturday, and Sunday if they keep winning. The men take on Illinois Springfield at 8:15 tomorrow. The women are playing right now against Missouri St. Louis. The women are seeded first, so we're hoping that they're going to make it to the final this weekend. It looks like the score is 22-13, a little over halfway through the first half. So that's awesome, and it's been so fun. Chris and I have gone to many games here on campus and have both watched them, of course, on our iPads or whatever at home some nights. So exciting that the women are engaged in that right now. We also have baseball and softball and men's volleyball who are traveling. The men's volleyball will be in Hawaii, playing Hawaii, UCI, and Grand Canyon. Baseball is traveling. They're going to be playing Southwest Baptist, and then softball will be traveling to Florida for the weekend preseason tournament. Men's and women's tennis are also traveling to Florida. They'll take on NIU Friday before they leave for their Florida trip. I don't think, I am going actually to Florida starting Sunday to do a fundraising trip, and I don't think I'm going to be able to see any because we're just not in the right spots at the right time. And Colleen and I's schedule is intense, but I'll at least be able to be within a couple hundred miles of where people are playing. So anyway, exciting. I do want to, I'll say this again at the end, but wish everybody, I hope people get a little bit of relaxation in over the next week. Everybody deserves it before we have that final 8-week push to the end of the semester. We have some exciting things that come quite quickly right after our break, Chris, that we're going to have our guest help us through here today.
Great, yeah, and lots going on over the break. One thing, just a couple things to mention. One is we kind of breezed past the Flyer Red Dinner is next Wednesday, and it's during the break, so we want to make sure that word gets out. Tickets are still available, so if you go to the athletics website, you can get more information about how to attend the Flyer Red Dinner. It's a wonderful night with lots of all the sports being honored, and as well as some alumni, as well as it's a fundraiser for Flyer Athletics. And just as always, a reminder that you can email a question to askus@louisu.edu for our guest or for us. And again, if you're watching it on YouTube, you can continue. You can still do that, and we will get that email and we will get it out to the right person. So I'm really excited to talk to our guest. I'm going to introduce her in a second, but the focus of today's conversation is about TEDx, and I believe before I introduce our guest, we're going to see a little bit of a clip about Louis U TEDx from the past, because this is our third year of doing it. Fourth year of doing it. We have 3 years under our belt, and I think we're going to see a little clip of some of the speakers we've had in the past before our conversation.
70% of people are not engaged in their work. According to the Gallup organization, this is actually the case worldwide. And not only that 70% of people are not engaged in their work, but many of them are also unsatisfied and unfulfilled with the work that they're doing.
The fact is, we all have unconscious beliefs about different groups, and they are inconsistent with our conscious values. It's also called implicit bias. But if it is indeed unconscious, how do we get past it?
Now, when I got to junior high, my parents called a family meeting. Ugh, anxiety. Now, I don't know about you, but in my house, when a family meeting was called, it definitely meant that one of us was in trouble. Either one of us got caught lying about something, you were messing up in school, or you weren't doing your fair share of chores in the house.
I'm here with a very old idea. A reminder, in fact, because it's one you already know, not here, but here. Not only do you already know it, you're good at it, like really good. Well, you were. But then this alchemy of hormones and physical changes and big responsibilities, AKA growing up, created so much fear in some of us that we forgot.
That is so wonderful to watch and to remember those being at those live presentations. So I'm really pleased to introduce our guest, Dr. Sheila Boysen, who is a professor in the College of Business and serves as program director of the Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership and MBA programs, as well as the training director of our International Coach Federation accredited executive coach training program. Sheila is currently serving as the inaugural faculty director of continuing education and micro-credentials. We just talked to her a few weeks ago about this. She is a Master Certified Executive Leadership Coach, and prior to transitioning to higher education, she began her career in industry in human resources and organizational development. So welcome, Sheila. So wonderful to be with you, and we just watched you. So how did it feel to watch yourself?
Well, I never like watching myself, so I'll just name that. But it is a great reminder to see some of the awesome topics that we've had at TEDx Lewis University the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited about TEDx Lewis 4.
Number
coming
4.
up. Yeah, that's really exciting. And thank you. You know, I guess I want to just say at the beginning, before we get started with other questions, to just acknowledge and thank you for your leadership role. Because 5 years ago, you were like, I think we can do this, right? And I think it really was like, we can do this. We all watch, not we all
talking
watch.
Specifically about TEDx.
TEDx is what I'm saying. Yeah. Meaning, many of us have watched a TEDx talk. You know, many of us that was, you know, and I think 5 years ago, 7 years ago, you were like, watching a TEDx, like Lewis can do this because they do it at other schools, they do it at other platforms, and I'm just so grateful that you know, kind of pushed through all of, you know, there's always hurdles in doing any of this, both with TEDx and with the university, and you made it happen. And now it feels natural for us to do number 4, right?
I think one of my biggest
there's
strengths,
not a lot of work, but
biggest strength and biggest flaws was I've got an idea. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how all the great things start, and it's always a lot more work than I conceive at the beginning, but clearly it was worth it in this case.
That kind of denial is what makes people successful.
That's right.
and we are engaged in our work. I want to go back to what you said. 70% of people, 3 out of 3 here,
Yeah.
totally engaged
Fully
in their work.
engaged.
I can guarantee, because
we don't
I know
fit
myself
that
and I know the two of
category.
you, totally
For the record.
engaged in the
Yeah.
work, just so we're
I
clear.
know that was a little bit of a cliffhanger, but talking
was.
about the fact that it is mentioned in my talk that I feel very lucky that I
Yeah.
found a career and a path that I love.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about how, just bring us back to the beginning of TEDx and how did it start at Lewis, and then maybe what is a university TEDx or a Lewis TEDx, and how does that differ from
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
the usual?
Our Lewis TEDx story actually started with, I was invited to give a TED Talk, which is one of the ways that people can give TED Talks or TEDx Talks. And I was invited to do that at a community college here in Illinois that I've had a past connection with. And so I was all excited, gearing up, putting all the work into my talk, having said yes before truly knowing what that meant, but was already down the path when then the pandemic happened. And my TEDx event was canceled or postponed at the time when no one quite knew how long something was actually going to be postponed for.
Right.
And that's when I had the thought, why, if I'm going to give this talk, why would I represent anything other than my own institution? And wait a minute, can we just bring this to Lewis? Let's bring the TEDx stage here, which was that simple idea in my head, which did take quite a bit of operationalizing and quite a bit of work from a lot of my colleagues. But that is how the idea started.
Yeah.
So one of the silver linings, I guess, of the pandemic
Right,
a little
yeah,
bit
that's right.
to bring the stage here.
Yeah.
And so was able to bring together a committee of individuals across disciplines and across different areas of Lewis to start our first year, our first process. So that year we did engage, it was 2021, so TEDx Lewis University #1. We engaged predominantly faculty at Lewis. We all had to have scheduled times to come in and give our talk because we were still somewhat shut down at that point in time.
Right.
And then we hosted a large virtual event where we presented all of the talks.
Right.
And then to get that license, it's considered a conditional license, the first time that any institution or organization is given a TED license. So you have to make sure you're following all of those kind of stringent, but for good reason, rules to keep quality and integrity of TED events, and submit that.
Yeah.
And then that is what opens up the door for you to renew your license every year.
It's great.
And that seems especially challenging that first year was during the pandemic or near the end of that shutdown period of the pandemic, and
We figured if
still
we could do it
performed
then,
well. Yeah.
If we could make it happen that year, we could make it happen any year. So.
Yeah, it was great. I remember it vividly.
And so, obviously, we had these clips. What happens to your talk, or Kathleen's talk, or other people's talks? What happens to them after the TEDx is done? The event is done on campus.
I think that's one of the most exciting parts about it is that once these talks are completed and our fantastic AV team and Philip Lynch Theatre team that does the recording and production of them, Once they're recorded, we actually send them off to the TED organization, and they have to review and vet each of them. And then so far, every single one, we have 100% approval rate,
awesome.
which I fully
Love it.
expect to continue. But our TEDx Lewis University videos are actually cataloged on the TED website and on the TED YouTube channel. So representing Lewis and those speakers for many years to come.
And people really watch them, right? I mean, I know
They
many of
search
them
for
have.
them, they watch them.
Many of them have some of our biggest viewership of all Lewis events.
Which is exciting, and I know
Yeah.
not just myself, but some of my other TEDx speaker colleagues here who have gone through this. We get reach outs from all over the world of someone who watched your video and send you an email or have a question.
Right.
Or someone will say, you know, my faculty member showed your video in my class, so it's
Right.
humbling and, I don't
that's
know,
great.
exciting.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
oh,
go ahead. Well, I was
just-
just going to ask. So if somebody wanted to be you,
Aim higher. I think the first
No.
piece of advice I would say is aim higher. But
no, they want to be. They would like to be on this stage. They think they have an idea worth sharing, as they say. How do they? What's the process? How do you pick speakers? How does it work?
And I've had a chance to engage with a lot of other TEDx organizers and learn, you know, what they do and what works. And our process has absolutely iterated over the past 4 years. But we've gotten to a place now where you can somewhat expect a little bit of a cadence here. So every fall, the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, we'll put out a call for proposals for speakers. And we try to spread that out, you know, to our community as much as we can. And then we will get all of these applications coming in. And so at that point, because I think sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating for someone to say, where do I start? Or do I have to have this entire thing put together in order to get selected?
Right,
And so maybe to ease some nerves and encourage more people to consider this, you don't have to have this fully baked out script that, you know, has already gone through editing.
Yeah.
But you have to have that crisp idea, that idea that you're really passionate about, excited about, and you have to have that crystallized to some extent. So in our application process, you're submitting that idea, so some narrative where we
And
can
that's
start
like
to
a
see
paragraph?
a paragraph, maybe two,
Okay, all right.
1 to 2 paragraphs. And we do encourage our applicants to submit a short video.
Oh,
We don't care if it is recorded on Zoom, if you're doing it on, you know, holding your own cell phone or device, but it gives us a chance to assess a little bit more beyond the paper of your enthusiasm for the idea. And those are some of the things that are most important to us. Is
sure.
you believing in, having enthusiasm around it. It doesn't have to be an idea that is absolutely brand new. No one has ever thought this before, or it's not being talked about. But what's your unique perspective on it, slant on it? What are you bringing to it that could inspire, encourage others?
So, have you? I'm interested in the kind of as you move from year 1 to 4. Have you gotten more people that are interested in applying? And I guess the tough part of that is, and therefore having to say no to more people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. So I think as
And
the
who does it? Like, who is the group of people who are?
so this is a number of faculty members and staff across the university representing all of the different colleges to kind of bring in those unique perspectives and disciplines. You know, I wish we could have 50 people, but then that would get a little bit out of hand.
And we have had some alumna and alums, I think. I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's been any men. I was trying to think through. I'm thinking through some of the people that I've
You're
watched.
right.
But I think it's
Not in
mostly
that population
women,
yet.
alumna that have come back and given talks.
We have. Yeah.
How did those alumni hear about it?
Well, I think we have a fantastic alumni network and communication and community. So I think the communication cadence that has gone out through those
It's
avenues
interesting
has
though
helped.
that they want to do it. You know, that it's you know, it's probably people. I'm imagining you know them well, the people who've done it, but I imagine that they're people who are attracted to the idea of doing a TEDx, but now they feel a little more comfort and safety in doing it through the Lewis experience, or
so.
maybe everybody has their own unique story, but.
Absolutely. I think the fact that they're coming back to a place that feels in some way a little bit like home, that they already have that connection, it does help.
Sure.
Because going back to who should apply or should I think about submitting an idea, we're not looking for the individuals that have had all this stage time and are perfectly polished and delivering, you know, large scale speeches every week. In some ways, I hope that it opens up the opportunity to people who are not anywhere near that. And this might be their first time to share their idea on a stage like that. Absolutely. But we do get a lot of applicants. It has been increasing every
I
year,
bet.
which is a great
I
problem
love
to
it.
I mean,
have.
that's part of the
wonderful.
success, right? The success of anything is, you see it, you're like, wow, that's cool. And obviously friends, right? I mean, many of our faculty and staff colleagues know each other well. And so what I've loved about going to the live events is to see their colleagues and friends support them, right?
Yeah.
They're in the audience, they're there because this is stressful, right? You have to, I mean, you're going to talk about how the process happens, but you do have to memorize this because you're up on stage.
Yeah.
And you're talking for, it's not like it's an hour long because these are all, and you'll talk about that too, but I love seeing them there, but then I can imagine that those 8 or 10 people who are supporting that person are sitting there thinking, well, maybe I do have an idea.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
I
Yeah.
do love that. I love that you can look out to the audience and you see that there's so much support there. It is a community building event,
It
which
is.
is part of the reason to expand beyond just the TED stage to TEDx. How can we bring this into communities
Yeah.
and have that benefit there? And I would say that probably was one of the hardest parts for the year that I did it and for my 4 colleagues who did it. Although I was allowed 2 guests, so I could see my husband kind of in the audience, but I didn't really have the whole crowd support. So
Right.
I can see how that's a huge benefit
interesting, yeah.
that we
Yeah.
have now doing this live and in person.
I find it incredibly powerful just being reminded of those particular people we just watched, that it really brings out brings out qualities or details about members of our community that they don't always get to show.
Right.
It's often it's often because of people's expertise that they have, but it's also personal detail that is a kind of vulnerability that we don't all see of each other. So it is a community building event in that way, for all, whether it's staff or faculty or alumni or students. It's all
Absolutely.
part of this community. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about how you prepare people. Like once they get, like we're kind of talking through the process. So
Yeah.
once they get accepted.
We definitely try to scaffold support for these individuals who we're bringing into the event each year. As I mentioned, we're not looking for the most experienced speakers, and that's okay. I wasn't the most experienced speaker even when I did it, but I take a lot of the learning of going through the process myself, and then everything that the committee has learned supporting individuals through this over the last 3 years, and we try to continually build on and
Yeah, you
scaffold
learn.
that support.
Right.
You mentioned memorizing. That is a fact. That is the truth. We're not looking to see who can most casually step up there and
Right.
let's just see what happens.
Yeah, improv.
different
This is
every
not
time.
improv.
Not improv, quite the opposite.
Right.
And I know for me and actually a lot of others who have gone through our event and just given a TED Talk in general, that might be the most uncomfortable part.
Sure.
I like co-creating learning. I like building
Yeah,
on
right.
what's in the room. So this idea of having to kind of be up there with something that's scripted and designed, it's a little bit uncomfortable at first.
Right.
But there's an element of freedom that comes from the structure, I will say. But we help them from beginning to end. So if you start with the idea, that's all you need to have, your paragraph or 2 to submit your proposal. Then we support you to design your outline and give feedback on that outline. And then from there, you draft your first draft, rough draft is okay, of your script. And then we give feedback on that.
And how long is that?
Yeah, how long can it be at the end?
In
How
writing,
long is the
like,
final?
how long in writing is it?
Oh gosh, I know that I actually asked ChatGPT this the other day. An 18-minute talk, how many words should that be?
Yeah, right.
And so there is that estimate that
Sure.
you can use
Yeah,
gauges
okay.
like that. But when we say 18 minutes, that is the limit. In order for us to be able to put this and archive it on the TED website,
Okay.
in the TED library, you cannot be over, not 1 second over 18 minutes. And some of the most memorable and celebrated talks are actually as
Yeah,
little
8
as
or 9
5 minutes,
Sure,
5 minutes
sure.
up
Right.
to 10
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah,
So it's not
sure.
even like you're trying to get as close to those
Yeah.
18 minutes, but
Yeah.
it can't go over that.
Yeah.
And once you get into that memorizing part, you really wish that you went a little closer to the
I'm
5-minute
sure.
mark than
I'm
the
totally
18-minute mark.
confident that that's the case.
That's
Yeah.
definitely part of it.
Yeah.
And then we host rehearsals. So actually tomorrow is going to be one of our virtual rehearsals where they're actually sharing with each other and members of our committee an opportunity to practice it in a safe and supportive space to get feedback as they continue to move toward the actual event.
I never even thought about that. They share it with each other.
They share with
So
each
that's
other.
like a little community, like a workshop community,
Yes.
basically.
I think
Love
some of
it.
our feedback is helpful. I think some of the feedback they give each other is even more helpful
Sure.
than what we're
Because
sharing.
they're doing it as
They're
well.
in it, yeah.
Yeah. So who is speaking this year? Who did you pick?
So we have a graphic, I believe, showing us the individuals that will be part of this year's event. In the past 3 years, we've had 5 talks, and we actually have 5 talks again this year, but you might notice some uniqueness that we have 6 individuals that will be giving the talk.
Oh, I have a guess about what that means.
Right? So the fun thing, a new thing about this year is that we are, for the first time, having a speaker duo for a talk.
Wow.
At the bottom of the screen there, you see Maureen and Abby Keene. They're actually a mother-daughter team. Maureen is one of our long-standing adjuncts here at Lewis University, and her daughter will be giving a talk together.
Awesome.
Ben is one of our students in education. We have some external community members, as well as Michelle Clifton, who's an internal member of our community here as well.
That's great.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited to see them speak.
Me too, and I've even seen some of the rehearsals, and I'm still excited to see the
So how
real
do
thing.
people get tickets and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, so you do need to attain tickets. You can do that on the Lewis website, the Philip Lynch Theatre specifically. We are once again hosting the event in the Philip Lynch Theatre. It's taking place on Thursday, March 21st. We are having an evening event this year. So we're trying not to do too many new things at once to pilot and
but that
test,
is new,
but
during
that
the
is
evening,
new.
yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Previously, it was during the day in the
think it's gonna be
morning.
great,
So it's going to be an evening event starting at 7 p.m., but you do need to secure tickets. They're free, but because it's a TEDx event, we are limited on numbers of people, so don't wait. Secure your ticket now. I think we've already secured the tickets for you too, so you're set. You're set. But for everyone else, please do
special.
make sure you get those tickets, and that'll be at the Philip Lynch Theatre with a small reception after to celebrate.
It's great. It's I'm really excited about it. It's as Chris said earlier, you know, it's just it's inspiring to go in that room and, you know, see people live out that little kernel, you know, in their own unique way, because it really is, you know, there are so many takes on sometimes, you know, ideas that maybe seem like, well, I've heard this before, but when somebody really puts their own spin on it, it's just fascinating to hear
How
them
they bring
talk
it to
through
life
Yeah,
through their
exactly,
lens.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing it. Thank you to everyone in the whole leadership team of Lewis University TEDx that for making this a reality for us. It's just a really special thing that we do. So I really appreciate your initial initiative around it, as well as all the work that everyone has done to make it continue to grow and thrive.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sheila. And I know there's so many people beyond yourself as a team that is making this happen, but grateful to the speakers, grateful to you for your leadership. Really appreciate that, as well as everything you're doing, you know, across campus that we talked to you a few weeks ago about. Yes.
Can we do a little basketball check?
I was just going to ask if we could get a basketball update.
Okay, there it is. Up by 10.
Up by
At
10
halftime.
at half.
Halftime.
All right, that's awesome. Up by 10
All
at
right.
half. Probably not large enough for me to
Yeah.
not be a little stressed,
Yeah,
but you know,
just what I
10
was
is
gonna
good.
say.
10 is better than being down by 2. So I just want to remind everybody that we will be off next week because of spring break. Back on March 21st, which is also the Day of Giving. So you can go onto the Day of Giving website and already give to projects, but we'll be having our main day on March 21st and have some exciting announcements that day also from Stritch Hall. Good luck to women's basketball, men's basketball, all our traveling teams. Be safe as you travel home or are away. You know, you might not be traveling home, but you might be actually going on a spring break trip. So just, have fun and be safe. Many blessings to you and all those that you love.